Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter and welcome to the next part of my Soul Sacrifice Delta playthrough. So we've gotten through the introduction, we've gone through the introduction of Sanctuarium, and now it's time to move on to Grim.
Why aren't I ever displayed on a shelf like a normal book? Books shouldn't be lying around on unswept floors.
Oh, quit complaining. Okay, so we're going into our Sorcerer's Deeds, and this time we're going to Grim. We're going to learn about the other faction. Seeing red.
Should you see a crimson-cowled girl bearing an apple, do not run. It wouldn't help. You are already caught in her snare. So goes the tale of the sorcerer known as Red Hood. If it is true, I fear nothing can save me now.
Hey. Do a girl a favor.
She approached me in a tavern. By nature, sorcerers favor shadows and avoid drawing undue attention. Flaming crimson garb like hers is a sight rarely seen.
You're not allowed to refuse. You know who I am, yes?
True to the legends, she was a specialist in illusion. She assured me I was already a prisoner to her handiwork.
Then you know what to expect if you don't stay on my good side.
And so I was half threatened, half dragged away from a perfectly good pint.
You know what? There's not a lot of things that would get me to be pulled away from a good pint, but Red Hood would be one of them. So this one we're going on Extermination Pact. We're going after the gnomes. So let's go ahead and read about the gnomes. Rabbits are known for their long ears. Their almost unnatural length shows both the strength and weakness of the rabbits. Their ancestors were powerless and timid creatures. They understood their weakness and timidity well. This is why the evolutionary path they chose was clear. The result? Their long ears. Their ears allowed them to hear sounds from far away and to swiftly flee well before their enemies even knew they were there. They never sought the power to fight their enemies. In a world ruled by strength, they attempted to survive by other means. In a way, they were rather clever creatures. Cleverness comes often to the weak. After all, the weak are the ones who must fully exercise their full wits in order to survive. Most rabbits have an endearing appearance, covered by soft fur as they are. In addition to those who treated them as game, there are also people who treated them as pets. Those who loved rabbits never realized that their endearing looks were a perfect reflection of how formidable they truly were. The rabbits understood how people viewed them and were deliberately trying to appeal to them. Do not let their looks deceive you. They may be weak, but they are clever. They may not seem to be thinking about anything at all. They are always thinking about how to outwit others. Let us say, for example, that rabbits were able to obtain magical power and inflict harm upon people. That ambition hidden, lurking behind their gentle round ears, were to be realized. They're clever creatures, rabbits. They would never think of rising up using force. They would waste no time or effort on a hopeless goal. They only need to excel at one thing, just as their ancestors had always done. Careful selection and concentration, but where? The ears. The rabbits who tasted magic developed only their ears, ceaselessly and with dedication. Their ears had always enabled them to pick up a great deal of information, and by engaging in a war of intelligence with other creatures, the rabbits who gained magic triumphed. It was as if that were the way they should have lived. Their ears grew more and more gigantic, all the better to hear with. They gained the ability not only to direct them forwards, but in any possible direction. It was easy for them to find food. Food would be plentiful wherever people lived. There were numerous discoveries of rabbits who had crept into people's homes to steal from them. The rabbits had developed a taste for it. As long as they had information, they can even outwit humans. As part of their deception, they would camouflage themselves so successfully, it was as if they had melted into the earth. These monstrous rabbits might lurk on plain, commonplace roads. They would cover themselves in vegetation, coat themselves with mud and sap, and blend into their surroundings. They were just like what we would call spies in human society. The rabbits that engaged in espionage against humans were called gnomes. The gnomes lurking in a human society underwent a further evolution. As humans boasted a powerful intellect, the gnomes became more clever the more they learned from them. The more the gnomes watched mankind, they sensed it instinctively, that human society was a constant welter of suspicion, doubt, and betrayal. What a delicate, cowardly creature man is, the gnomes thought. Perhaps mankind was yet another creature whose intellect had developed from its terrible weakness. They certainly must have been more afraid than any other creature to have become the most intelligent of the lot. Why did man dominate the world more than any other creature? It was because fear dominated their hearts more than any other creatures. It was so simple. Men and rabbits were alike in their cowardice. The only difference was that man was even more cowardly. The gnomes started to imitate humans. They were the ideal form of the coward that would guide their evolution. Their ears grew even longer, and the gnomes began to use them as people would use their hands and feet. The way they did not simply develop hands or feet of their own gives you a glimpse into their philosophy. Selection and concentration. They believed that their ears alone would suffice to beat mankind. The gnomes lived very shrewd lives indeed. Take this tale for example. The king of a distant land was brought down by his dalliances with women. Top secret, vital information that should never have escaped had been leaked. No one could identify where the leak originated. The only items of suspicion? A few rabbit hairs scattered on the floor of the king's chambers. One other thing, the king was known to hate animals. It was said he would abuse rabbits and other small animals, treating them like parasites. Da-da-da-da. So we get this idea that the gnomes are magically infused rabbits. So we're going rabbit hunting to arm ourselves for the journey ahead. Do we have anything good to use here? I don't think so, not yet, really. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think we're good. These beginning missions are not incredibly hard or anything. Let's do this. The apple, synonymous with Red Hood. The apple shade is a special totem that produces powerful hallucinations. How many men have been fooled by her? Another vision, as if I had not had my fill. A curse left by a one-time ally. A hallucination conjured with her right arm. From within my arm, Sortiara tries to tell me something. When she does, an unreal vision flickers before my eyes. A dark phantasm of murderous intent. So ominous. Pretty area.
I'll drive you mad with my illusions.
I love her outfit. It is so cool. Okay, so the whole deal with Grim is instead of sacrificing or saving, we're just going to hold down both Eleanor and leave it up to chance. Flip of a coin, all to fate. It allows for balanced gains in life and magic. So, let's go ahead and get some fate going, shall we? Okay, missed. So we just go up and we hold both buttons and watch our experience. They go up pretty much at the same level, both life and magic. That was such a small monster, it was hard to tell.
Keep it up.
Yes, this one decided to go a little bit more towards power. Sometimes it goes a little bit more towards life, but for the most part, you pretty much have the same level as you go through if all you do is luck. The nice thing with the luck ones is you don't know if you're going to get a spirit or a soul shard. You have no idea the essence. And there is a chance that it could be like really lucky, and you can actually get a more rare version easier. But it's also completely inconsistent because it's all based upon luck. So it's a trade-off.
Sacrifice it or save it.
I don't know if I actually earned it or not. Okay, not bad. Homing magic amp. Okay. A surgeon sigil. Area healing magic amp. That's nice. Cool. Let's go on in the story.
Was it magic or lust? Perhaps it was her silver tongue. Everyone agreed she made her way by bewitching others. Even veteran sorcerers were said to be defenseless against her illusions. More than anything, it was the fact that she became a monster that sealed her poor reputation. They say she drained victims' lives to fuel her own, thereby ensuring she'd live forever. A chilling story. Except the girl standing before me now seemed anything but a monster. For her to be as old as the legends and look as young as she does is monstrous enough.
Drop those silly ideas now. You're my dog, like it or not.
She lazily rolled an apple about in her hand as she spoke. It was clear she was onto something, chasing a tip. Helping her in this search was the only way to break free of her illusory chains.
So, is it Grimm you're after too?
The Order of Grimm. The mysterious cult was still new, but growing at a wildfire's pace. It's rumored the tavern where we'd met was a gathering place for its membership.
Well, it seems we share a goal.
Intelligence on the cult fetches a high price from the agents of Avalon. Perhaps the promise of that reward is what drives her current search. Here follows Grimm's tale. Once there lived a prophet, Grimm. Those who took his word for truth banded together, and a society was born. Red leaned in, eager for any word of Grimm I'd heard. The next moment, her expression changed. A monster on the road ahead. Cold sweat trickled down my back. My body sensed its strength. Immediately, Red sprang into action. I had scarcely exhaled by the time she was gone. Vanished. I'd have been a fool to expect any different. This was the infamous Red Hood. Using others was her speciality.
Use me. Simping for a Red Hood. Okay, so extermination pack calling on sorcerers to exterminate the 3 little pigs. So yeah, this is a fun twist on some of the grim tales. So this should be fun. Let's read about the 3 little pigs. Theirs was a well-to-do household, as its head was the father, a skilled merchant. His 3 sons had easy childhoods, not least because their father was away on business too often to discipline them. Even as adults, the boys made no effort to work, living on the high life of their father's coin. Years of wanton feasting left all 3 of them fat and round. The 3 pig brothers. That was what others whispered about them, though the boys paid it no heed. Given the choice of rich pig or deprived human, they gladly chose the former. But when sudden illness took their father, things changed for the piggy trio. In his will, the merchant left all he had to his wife. What share went to the boys would be for their mother to decide. She chose to give them nothing. Not to keep her late husband's wealth for herself, nor for lack of love for her sons. Indeed, it was love that made her worry about their future. At this rate, they'd never amount to anything, drifting idly through life like kept livestock. So, though it pained her dearly, she drove them from her house. She shouted after them, calling them lazy pigs, but the tears in her eyes betrayed her true emotions. Yet the fool brothers could not see their mother's tough love for what it was. They cursed her for a gold digger, convinced she had acted out of greed. Unsure what else to do, the trio wandered the town square. There they saw a call for mercenaries. Too naive to know how hard the sellsword's life was, they decided to take the task on a lark. In a curious move, they fashioned masks painted to look like pigs to wear to the test. Perhaps they hoped to grow famous as the 3 pig brothers, so tales of their feats might someday reach their mother's ears. Whether they hoped to spite the woman who'd called them pigs or to assure their mother they'd be fine men, only they could say. Next, they split up to procure equipment. Sheltered though they were, they knew better than to turn up empty-handed. A few days later, the trio reconvened. The eldest had a woven straw into the mockery of armor, the second carried a wood plank he called a shield. To think of marching into battle dressed in such scraps was beyond naive. They were truly fools. Only the youngest had any sense. He fashioned a mace out of brick rubble. On the day of the test, the eldest donned their gear and entered the ring. Needless to say, he lay face down in the dirt in seconds. Only the mace drew praise, and the youngest brother was quick to claim credit. He was eager to curry favor with the judge and to distance himself from his foolish siblings. He felt it was unfair he'd been cast out in the first place. His brothers were pigs, to be sure, but he was far better by comparison. His sycophantic tone and glory-hogging paid off. He alone was to be granted a second audition some days later. Despite his clear efforts to ditch his brothers, the older boys looked on with a smile. He was still at that impetuous age, they knew. They found it endearing. Or so it appeared. The day of the test arrived. The eldest never came. He sacrificed his body to become a set of armor. The second didn't show either. He sacrificed his body to become a shield. Just hours before, they had both been visited by a strange chalice that offered them a bargain. Pay the price, and any wish was theirs. Both brothers accepted, and so they were transformed. The newly minted armor and shield spoke to their brother. Use us to pass the test. If any of them were to find success, they knew it would be up to the youngest, and so they gave up their all to aid him. On its face, it seems like a noble tale of a paragon of brotherly love, but inside, the older brothers were laughing. Let the youngest carry them so they can live in ease. They hadn't changed at all. They simply found a new set of coattails on which to ride through life, replacing their fathers. They were parasites still, and they found a new host in the third brother. While they were far from wise, they had reached one epiphany. If you aim to live easy, cast your pride away. A sense of entitlement or duty as elder brothers would only get in their way. As they would readily admit, the youngest was the least hopeless among them. He soon thought through his brother's intentions and heaved a deep sigh. He shook his head at their total uselessness and felt ashamed to share the same blood. As for the equipment the brothers' sacrifices bought, well, when a worthless human offers his all, it only buys so much. The result was nearly as useless as the boys had been before. Even a pig has its uses, but this? The youngest brother was thoroughly fed up. That was when a strange vision came to him. A white chalice hovered there. It spoke into his mind. Pay the price, and any wish is yours. He nearly fell over. But, cleverest of the full trio as he was, he quickly sussed that this was how his brothers had become as they are now. He paused and gave thought to what he truly desired. The image that came to him was unexpected. His father. Now burdened with his brothers, he finally understood all his father had done for him. The weight of providing for others. He was ashamed and wished to apologize and show his thanks. He soon hit on a way. He would repay his debt by providing for his brothers now, as his father had in life. To support his siblings, these two fool pigs, he would need a mercenary's income. But if he hoped to pass the test, he would need a worthy weapon. And so he made his wish. The moment after, he chowed himself for stepping beyond his ken. He'd forgotten his veins flow with the same fool's blood as his brothers. His desire for a powerful weapon saw his body transformed into a mace. It was a formidable arm to be sure, but with its flesh now lost, there was no one left to wield it. Man cannot fight his nature, nor can pigs, as the comparatively wisest of the three brothers learned. Left no choice, the brothers put up a bluff. Armor, shield, and mace joined to give the appearance of a warrior, a hollow shell, an empty facade. Even now, it said that the three brothers turned objects wandered the land seeking someone strong enough to wield them. Ugh, how deplorable. Well, I mean, I don't feel bad for them if I have to kill them. I don't feel good. I mean, they haven't hurt anybody but themselves. So I think this is a perfect type of quest for Grimm to deal with, because whether they live or die, really, it's not up for me to decide. So let's do this. The Oracle Grimm lived long ago, but among the believers his influence remains great. They preach that humans suffer because gods created this world out of capriciousness. Avalon denies Grimm's teachings, for they have no foundation. They warn us to beware of dangerous idealists who threaten the world with chaos. Is that what Grimm is? Just a bunch of anarchists? Burn it all to the ground? Who cares? We'll find out. I like the wings on these mounds. It's nice. And of course Red isn't here because she's just gonna have us do it for her. Okay, let's make sure we break the parts in this monster. We need to increase our intelligence. Ooh. So what parts we got? The head, the shield, and the mace. We can deal with that. It should be pretty easy. Let's go after the shield, the head. Yeah, this spell's way too weak. I'm not a fan. Let's go into spears. These guys. We should probably grab some soul and spirits from them. I don't know what the heck the three little pigs are doing now. They're just like running around like, ah! I'm a champion. Look at me. Oh, there we go. Let's look at that. Oh, it ate it. If you notice, the cats can eat the other dead cats to become even bigger. Oof. monstrous. Okay, so the face is gone. Let's get the arm, the shield. Okay, now we just have that shield left. Gotta make sure I only hit that though. So it's gonna be on the screen left, I assume. Oh, he died. Oh well. Oh, good gosh. I don't want to save him. Don't want to kill him. He's just a damn fool, that's what he is. So, what do you think it's going to be, chat? Will he live or die? This would actually be really fun to stream and say, like, hey, place your bets. Do you think he's going to live or die? I'm going to guess that he lives only because I think the game is going to be cruel and to make me have to put up with him. What did I tell you, huh? Fate had decided that the youngest brother shall live, so don't repeat the same mistakes, dude. Like, go live a life of worthiness. Go back to your mom. Take care of her for once. Chump. Okay, we did get its shield, which is Venom, and the magic of the three little pigs stops attacks with a Porky shield. Good, good. And we unlock the Gelid's Sigil, which gives us a freeze amp. Okay. And no, I'm never going to use you, dude. I'll repay you when in kind when the day comes. Yeah, right. I doubt that. Lazy bum.
Good boy. Now heal. We've a long way to go yet.
She reappeared the moment danger had passed, nibbling at her apple without a hint of guilt.
Fancy sharing information? We both stand to benefit.
I told her all I'd learned. Central to Grimm's revelations was the eternal recursion. He claimed the world had come and gone and been made new again, time after time. The gods of creation are capricious things and never satisfied for long. Druid or Romulus, these gods cared nothing for the struggles of man. The Order of Grimm rejected both of them outright. They claim neutrality is man's sole means of standing against the cruel apathy of those gods. As I finished speaking, I looked to her, or to the void where she had stood moments earlier. I cursed my naivety, for I knew she was a shameless cheat. Yet I'd blithely handed over precious intelligence for nothing. She she'll feast for weeks, while my big mouth goes empty. It took me 3 days to track her down.
You sniffed me out.
She started.
I already solved that tidbit about Grimm, by the by.
She hadn't yet realized. I imagine she's unaccustomed to being played after all. Intelligence on Grimm was only ever a secondary concern of mine.
Wait a minute. It was me you were after?
It was. I had gone to that tavern hunting for the infamous Red Hood. I needed a way to break this illusion. Not any spell Red Hood had placed me under, but the visions from my own right arm. As an expert in illusions, perhaps she could break the curse Sortiara left me.
Don't expect too much. I'm not the legend rumors make me out to be.
A roar echoed out from somewhere. I could feel the beast was close. And soon enough, Red was gone. Her parting words hung in the air.
Don my cap approach any fools saying, "You're under my spell," and watch them jump a mile. Legendary illusions, more the illusions of legends in truth. Didn't you jump though?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, she obviously has power, but it seems like her power is not quite as legendary as they make it out to be. Which makes a lot of sense, right? It's the placebo effect. People who think they're being approached by someone manipulating them will easily be manipulated. So we're going up against Snow White. Isn't she lovely looking? This is a pretty sad story, I'll warn you already, but let's go on and read about poor Snow White. In a far-off land, a princess was born. All who saw her were drawn in by her captivating eyes. Large and round, they shone with the brilliance of diamonds. But their beauty filled her mother with anxiety, for the queen prided herself as being the fairest in the land. Once grown, she knew this girl would be more beautiful than even she. And so a petty jealousy grew within the queen's breast every time she met her daughter's eyes. In the throes of envy, she'd even considered murder. But no, she couldn't. She loved her daughter, as any mother would, but more than that, she had reasons far less noble. The sight of her own face reflected in those innocent eyes, she would stare at them and lose track of time. The image in her daughter's eyes was more vivid than any mirror. And a few women admired themselves more than the queen. Choosing the right mirror had long been an obsession, and soon, no other would do. She grew to love her daughter not as a child, but as an object. Despite her jealousy, she could never part with her perfect mirror. As the princess aged, the queen's fears came to fruition. The girl's beauty grew each day, and with it, her mother's envy. The queen wanted her gone. Erased, but she couldn't kill her, knowing that she'd never find a mirror so fine. Knowing she'd lose those hours of basking in her own reflection, for a woman so vain, few things were harder to part with. Her daughter's existence marred her pride. The image in her eyes affirmed it. Caught in this dilemma, the queen heard a voice, and then a strange chalice stood before her. "If you would have your wish, offer a sacrifice." She hesitated for a time, but as she regained her calm, a thought emerged. It was a thought unbecoming of a mother, unbecoming anyone. She offered up her dear daughter, turning the girl's eye into a real mirror. With her more beautiful daughter gone, her pride was finally at ease, and only that intoxicating reflection now remained. The queen's vanity reached new heights. Claiming the princess had run away, the queen hid the mirror in her chambers. Day after day, she posed with a question to her former child. "Who is the fairest of them all?" The girl answered as she'd been taught, "Mother, in my eye." For years this routine continued, until the princess came of age, or would have, were she still human. Wiser now, she began to question her circumstances. Why was she not allowed outside? You see, she never realized she'd become a mirror. "I want to see myself," she pled, but the queen gave no reply. With each day, the girl's doubts grew until they consumed her. It was then that she saw what her mother once had. "If you would have your wish," the chalice began. She wished to see herself, badly enough to shout, badly enough, it seems, to offer her remaining eye in exchange. Her price paid, the apples that were to be her meal became mirrors. She peered into them and saw a monster. She now regretted her lost eye, for she could not even weep at her fate. Her heart was broken, and she swore revenge upon the queen. Animated by that grim wish, the apples began to move. They were now apple dwarves, each bearing a mirror. Vengeance came soon after. When the queen next peered into her eye, she was met with the cold, hard truth. Until then, in her love for her mother, the girl had shown the queen a younger, fairer version of herself, all to see her smile. But no longer. The princess felt no need to please her mother now. The mirror showed a face carved with wrinkles. The queen shrieked and turned away, but a ring of apple dwarfs circled her, brooking her no escape. The queen's heart stopped. And so the girl had vengeance, yet the next moment she felt tears well up at the mirror's edge. Even eyeless, she still found a way to cry. The loss of her mother was crushing. Despite her vanity, despite knowing that she had never truly looked like her daughter, the queen still had been a mother. Even transfigured, the girl could not hate her mother. Those years of fond looks, even if the queen had only seen herself, were enough for the girl. Ever since, the mirror princess has only shown the image of her mother, as if to fill the void left by some woman's death. Ooh, that's deep and disturbing, huh? Well, let's hopefully put her out of her misery. Let's go fight Snow White. I heard it come from a sorcerer who'd been the victim of her trickery. Sit down in a certain place in the inn, I was told, and she'll be sure to approach. I must learn more of the Cult of Grimm. Her illusion was a clever lie, using the story of Red Hood, but the effect may have been more powerful than any spell. There is a reason man turns to monster. When someone prays to the legendary chalice, a price must be paid. Thus they say a monster is the final culmination of a life sainted by desire. So they're basically saying a lot of these guys are bad. Don't feel bad for them. Still, it's not a black and white clear answer. Okay, so here we are in the map, and let's go fight Snow White. Oh, so we're gonna lock down by holding L. That locks us on, and we'll start using our triangle onslaught. Well, that was pretty easy. It's probably because I didn't even think about breaking parts, I just killed her. Look at them all gathered.
The
Moving on.
There was no end to them. For each fiend I slew, 2 more sprang up. Hours passed. My sense of time dulled as my consciousness faded.
I'd feel guilty if you died here. Waste of a good dog.
I turned and saw her standing there. She raised her apple high and spoke in a whisper. The monsters fell in a chorus of thuds, curiously now sound asleep. At her feet lay the fragments of the shattered apple. A common sorcerer, average at best. Her words, not mine. Only when using an apple shade as the sacrifice was she able to craft a grand illusion. She also confessed the Red Hood of legend, master of illusion turned monster, was her grandmother. She told me she was the 3rd of her name. From the day she took up her predecessor's mantle, everyone shrank and kept their distance. She begged entry into Avalon, but they turned her away for being of a monster's bloodline.
You're quite odd, you know.
She watched my face as she spoke, eyes filled with curiosity. I was the first, it seemed, to try and deal with the legendary Red Hood.
Those visions there, from your right arm, they're far beyond me, but not Gran.
Had she put aside the cowl and the name, she'd have had no trouble finding acceptance. But she chose to remain the 3rd Red Hood. Why should she be the one to bend? Who were they to judge her on name and clothes alone? She'd refuse to buckle to the prejudiced stares of strangers.
Semelia, that's my real name.
If true, this is the first time she's spoken about herself. The first time she's given her name. To the masses, Red Hood was name enough.
That there is Gran. It's my first time seeing her as well.
It was a monster, no question. The original Red Hood. Semelia's grandmother. We had planned well in advance. First, we had to save old Gran. I would ask if she had the knowledge I sought, and then her fate would be left to Semelia.
So, starting to feel less of a pet and more of a partner? Spot?
She'd been condemned to a life of abuse, and these were her words.
Alright, and here we are with the final boss of her chapter. Obviously not the end of her story, she's going to have a critical role throughout this game, but we're going up against Red Riding Hood. So let's read the tale of Red Riding Hood. It's probably not the one you know. This is the tale of a swindler, cunning and infamous. The knight cut a menacing figure. The sight of his weapon conjured images of rent flesh and the sound of a snapping bone. His armor was no less imposing, forged in the shape of a jet-black wolf. Its keen stare transfixed any prey it fell upon. Most opponents knelt, cowering at his feet before the first blade was drawn. More often than not, the Wolf Knight was victorious without even fighting. That lupine armor was the result of years of careful experimentation. If perfected, he knew it would serve as a fine weapon. In truth, it was his only weapon, or the only one he knew how to use. All his skill and effort went into intimidation. In a word, he was a con man who worked the battlefield. He never had a master to teach him combat. He was orphaned before he knew his parents' faces. He had to find a way to survive alone, and the answer he came to was deceit. Despite his efforts, he left one battle gravely wounded. Serves him right, he thought, for heeding his opponent's taunts and fighting head-on. He fled to the mountains, escaping with his life, but soon found himself lost. As his hunger grew, he felt death's creeping approach. As he wandered, he came upon a cabin. Despite its remoteness, it was quite nicely appointed. His swindler's instincts took hold. If there was someone inside, anyone, he knew he could fool them. Within the cabin lived an old woman. Face hidden by his helm, the Wolf Knight demanded she bring him food. He kept his voice in a low growl, icy cold with just a hint of madness. It was a tone that he'd practiced for years. Put another way, it was the only tone he knew how to strike with others. After a moment spent nonplussed, the old woman hurried to prepare a meal. She was kind, strangely so. The Wolf Knight assumed he'd cowed her into submission. He decided to capitalize on her fear and extend his stay there. Just as he had hoped, she prepared feast after feast for him. Doubt began to creep in. She was too genial to be acting unfair alone. Several days into his stay, the old woman cooked up the grandest meal yet. As the knight sat down, however, he noted she was nowhere in sight. Thinking she'd left on some errand, he cleaned the table single-handedly. Clutching his gut in contentment, he then noticed a letter. What he read in it sent shivers up his spine. The old woman's provisions had run out, and so she'd fashioned this final meal from her own flesh. The warm, heavy weight now in his belly was his erstwhile host. He broke out in a panicked sweat and hastened to continue reading. Why show him such extreme hospitality? Was it really for fear of him? No, certainly not. She'd had a son, she explained, though they'd been parted years ago. The Wolf Knight was the spitting image of her boy, fully grown. It was all there in her letter. She couldn't help but think of him as her son, nor bear the thought of her child going hungry. In the end, she was happy, as if she had been reunited at last. Amid her talk of the child she'd lost, she gave the boy's name. The knight cried out, for the name she'd written was his own. Not the alias he'd given her, but the true name he'd kept hidden. Then she was his. An orphan all his life, he finally met his mother and devoured her. He'd imagined his parents' face countless times. Had there been there in his life, he would have never become the fraud he was. He'd pined for them, ached for them. His mind was in chaos. This was surely some nightmare. His mother lay in his belly now, being digested. He tried to vomit her up, yet no matter how many times he retched, he could not purge the guilt that clung to his gut. In the end, he slit open his belly and tore out his viscera, trying to remove his mother by hand. From his entrails a skull emerged. It spoke to him in the old woman's voice. "Had you fooled, didn't I?" The furnishings around him turned to ash, then the walls. The cabin crumbled. This is the tale of a swindler, cunning and infamous. The knight had been an illusion from the start. The old woman was a witch, and a cleverer crook than the knight. And small wonder, for he lacked her experience. She'd had a dozen lifetimes to practice her schemes. She lured others into consuming her, then claimed their bodies, passing from host to host forever. The immortal Red Hood. Even in this world ruled by sorcery, few are those who find themselves with unending life. She was a proud exception. Deep, man. So this guy was orphaned. This old lady took advantage of that by pretending to be his mother. Got him to eat her so she could take over his body as the host, because he would be so guilty that he tried to kill himself. Man, that's a dark woman. That's not nice. Play with him like that. I mean, I get why he's a swindler, because he's got no other skills, but like, to trick him into doing that, that's not very cool. So I do not want to save this Red Riding Hood. I mean, it might be the shell of this man, but it's actually the old lady. This is not something I want to allow. But I think I should be leaving it up to fate, unfortunately. Okay, let's do this, shall we? Semilia's behavior seemed excessive to me, almost as if she were trying to live up to her reputation. It was the first time for Semilia. Because of her grandmother, she was treated as an outcast. She is tied to family by blood, but what is it in Semilia's heart? It must suck to be born of a family line renowned for being a monster. She's just making the most of it, you know? Can't blame her.
We're just like partners now.
Yes, we are. Which I kind of like. Okay, enough simping. Let's get to it. Yeah, we may as well clean up these guys. Wow, look at the menacing look on that person's face. I mean, you gotta admit, like, if this thing came up to you, would you want to fight it? Probably not, right? You'd be like, I'm good. But it's not the strongest thing in the world. Oh, this is the blitz spell. I'm not a fan of it. What can we break? We can break the spear and the back and the tentacles on the top. So let's actually use our flying spell to go after the back, because I really do want to break the parts of this monster this time. I should have brought the mole thing so I can hit the face. Where are we? Yellow still? Ouch. Okay, let's just fight. Shall we? Uh-oh, I'm dying. So let me ask her to save me. Are we in red yet? If we're in red, I'll just use my black, right? No, we're not. This will break my healing if I don't restore it. Can I restore anything? Well, I can restore myself this way. Get out. Okay. Let's restore some of our offerings now. Heal up. Okay, there he goes. I don't think we got the head, but we did break the other parts. That's okay, we can come back to this quest later when we have better spells. It's not a biggie. Oh, it's her grandma. Well, I'll leave that to fate then. I thought it'd be the guy that she consumed, but I guess not. How is your grandmother still alive? Grandmother? I don't know. Second rate, that's horrible. Okay, but we do get Red Riding Hood's spear, which is actually very powerful. It's a great non-elemental weapon with 50 attack, which is very nice. And we got an ice armor. Armor in this game is truly strong. What I'm going to be shooting for is the stone armor once we get the chance to get it. I really like it. Okay, let's see the end of her story, at least for this chapter.
No matter the question asked, the old woman's mumblings were unintelligible. Such is the price of immortality, any shred of normality gone. I would get no information from her. The rest was in Semelia's hands. That was the deal. She struggled clearly, to save or to sacrifice. Blood or no, the girl couldn't hide her muddled feelings for the crone. It was because she was blood that the woman had caused her such woe. I couldn't help but speak up. You waver! Stay your hand! Semelia hadn't even been allowed to take Avalon's ordeal. So she had no way of knowing. Sacrificing one with whom you share a strong bond bears a price. The scars left upon the soul are deeper than she could know.
You don't know what I...
She drew a deep breath, then exhaled. Her wry smile returned.
But... no matter. You're right. Thank you.
An awkward line from her, spoken through a hesitant smile. It was a glimpse of Semelia the girl, not Red Hood the legend.
Well, well. No one's ever told the terrible Red Hood what to do before.
She spun the apple as she walked away, glancing back at me.
I'll repay this kindness. You have my word, as a member of Grimm.
I really should have known. For I knew the tavern where we met was a favored haunt for their numbers.
Consider this my thanks.
A plume of white smoke rose from behind her. It engulfed the area in an instant. My mind felt bathed in white. I collapsed into the sensation. A strange voice echoed from nowhere in particular. For a suitable price, your wish will be granted. A white vessel. Hung in the air before me, a relic to grant one's any desire. And the source of countless monsters consumed by them. The sacred chalice. The woman in your arm, is she to be your wish? It spoke as if it knew all my heart's desires. An image flashed before my eyes. Her face as I'd last seen it. If you would see her again, make your sacrifice. Offer up the Red Girl and...
Well, this just got personal fast. They want me to fight Similia. I don't want to fight her. That's it, guys. We're ending the playthrough here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm joking. Okay, let's quick undo our breakage here of these spells. Let me get this spear as well. I don't like that blitz. It's not really doing anything good for me. I'm not good at using it. So I'm going to get rid of that. But this is a close counters battle, so I'll just bring a bunch of healing stuff. Don't forget to fix that. Okay. Similia, I'm sorry. White smoke and clear skies. A red-garbed Similia gazes this way. If she is sacrificed, will I see Sortiara again? Is the debt now settled? There was a resignation in Similia's eyes. I don't mind, if it is your wish. 'Tis not. So one thing I've noticed with the fights against other sorcerers is they're really fast and they jump around. So using that phoenix feather...
Will sacrificing me make your wish come true?
I shall certainly not. Like using that thing that allows you to move around really fast is really good. I don't want to fight her though. Do I have a choice in this matter? I probably don't. The game is mean like that.
I thought I'd finally made a friend. I'd always put on a brave face.
What if I let her kill me? No, that probably wouldn't work. I'd probably have to kill her and then refuse. You know what I mean? Like defeat her? Let's try that.
It's totally pathetic. People hated me all the more for acting bold. You befriended me, even though I'm the red hood. Is this what happens when we make friends?
I'm not killing you. Okay, we just unlocked pretty much the main story, so it's going to be fun. We're going to take a look at everything that's unlocked before we end the episode, and then we'll continue on with the main story. But let's finish this one up. At this point, you're like, okay, I just passed the tutorial. Which is actually pretty true. That all?
My anger boiled over. I bellowed that her joke was in poor taste.
Oops. Then you knew.
Yes, I knew. The fractured apple at her feet betrayed her illusion. An apple shade, to be exact.
I'm sorry. She really meant a lot to you, didn't she?
She seemed genuinely contrite.
Please don't be cross. I had to test you.
Grimm asks one thing of the new. The fortitude to rely on no god.
You passed. You resisted the illusion. You're perfect for Grimm.
I suppose I should have been flattered, but I declined. I have no interest in Grimm's words, nor any prophecy of eternal recursion. Moreover, she'd made a mistake. Had it been the true chalice, I'm not sure I could have denied it. The promise of seeing her again may prove too tempting.
Is a dead woman really so dear to you still?
I raised my right arm in response. She isn't dead. Not to me. She speaks to me still, from within my arm. And I let her words guide me, spurring me onward. My burden, my karma. The third Red Hood wore a pout on her lips.
Really? It's hardly fair someone should be immune to the Red Hood's wiles.
Her cowl traced a bright red arc as she turned to leave.
I suppose that means I need practice. Next time, though, just you wait.
She swore to avenge her pride one day, a broad grin on her face.
A change has occurred on one of the pages. Have a look. You can now relive a pact. Rewrite your affiliation to experience quests as a member of another group. But remember, the author of this journal will always be a sorcerer of Avalon. You can change the sorcerer's affiliation, but it won't change the sorcerer's life. These tumultuous tales can't be rewritten completely. So, keep that in mind. A change has occurred on one of the pages. Have a look.
Déjà vu. Ah. Well, well, well. So we get lots of choices here now. We can, let's grab some tears. They're not tears, you dolt. We can now access the network, which allows us to play online, which I'm happy to report. As of 2 days ago, it finally went back online. I think what happened was, and this is a guess, Sony has been working on some back-end stuff with removing credit card payments on the Vita store and also the PS3 store. They're not taking the stores down, at least not yet. But they are taking away credit card payments, and I figured they broke something, either intentionally or it was a bug and they just never fessed up to it. But for several weeks the online was just down. But now it's not. It's back online, so you can play online with people. I think you do need to have the online pass to do so. There's not a whole lot of people, obviously, but you can find a Discord server, and there are some people to play with. Ad hoc party, of course, you're always able to do. And here is where you can see your stats. So if you want to see like your hours played, how many people you've killed, how many people you've saved, stuff like that. It's just a bunch of fun little things here. So if you're ever curious. But we're going to go ahead and read the journal, and now we've unlocked several things. We now have we've unlocked all the free quests, which is going to be crazy. Where do you see all the stuff in here? So packs. These are requests made to sorcerers. Packs indicate target and reward and can be done through multiplayer under network. So these are basically offline or online. These are just free quests. Now the game does give you 2 very, very capable NPCs, or you can team up with 2 people. Or 3 maybe actually. Although the NPCs get unlimited spells, so I actually find them a little bit better. Probably. So I don't think you're missing out if you're gonna, unless you got a buddy you want to play with, you can do that. That's certainly fun. But in the meantime, you've got your other NPCs. You can press the triangle button here to see what the actual monster is. And now we can do tons of interesting grinding, which I might actually do, even though this is a story playthrough. It is very important for you to see how some of the grinding works, because I actually like the grinding quite a bit. But whether or not you want to invest one day in a Vita in order to play this game yourself, you're going to want to see that kind of stuff. So as you can tell, everything in this game pretty much is tied to your intelligence. Both the sigils for getting stronger buffs on your spells, unlocking new things. It's a really smart way of doing it so that it's not tied to your level progression. It's just tied to how much variety of stuff do you have. So the more monsters you can break parts of, the more additional quests you do, the quicker you're going to unlock this stuff. Under Forgotten Packs, we have 3 full chapters here, so we can access the first one. And we have like goblins and Snow White and all these things. It's nice that you can also see like the prizes or things that you can get. And we have additional packs. These are kind of like challenge quests. I think they were probably DLC. I like how it just goes from 6, 10, and 15. Just jumps like that. That's funny. But you see under these things we have various difficulty. So 4 is still a little too hard for us right now. We're still very early in the game. So we're not going to be touching these yet. But we get all sorts of weird sort of conditions. For example, this one says you can only take up to 3 offerings with you for the entire hunt. Oof, that's rough. This one, the Musicians of Bremen. Only 1 magic per type, so if I want to take a spear, I can only bring 1. These are really fun. I love these challenges. This is a dual quest, and I have to clear it within 10 minutes. It's called a Gemini quest. Very fun. So yeah, these things go way up. So like this is 10. So you can see like the little red ticks here. That is like the G rank of this game, which was added in Delta. So none of that was there in the original Soul Sacrifice, and that's where you're going to get the best stuff. So we've got Odin, who was added as a DLC monster. So we've got 3 versions of him. We've got his hard, and then his like uber hard. I wonder what the conditions in this one is. Nothing. He's just really hard. The jump in their HP from like level 15 and level 12 is huge. So this is a much difficult fight, which is cool. And then finally we got a next page here, which you don't want to miss. and a whole bunch. Unlocked at question. So I will not spoil that. We'll get there in all good time, but there is a ton of packs to do. We also unlocked Alice's Eternal Maze. This is kind of like endgame content, so this is not something we're going to touch until we get through the main story. But basically what this is an endless dungeon where each floor you're given a random boss. You beat the boss, then you go on the elevator down and you keep going. And at every third floor you're able to leave. So we'll do this at endgame. I am definitely going to show that off. It's very fun, and no, you can't get to the end. It goes on forever, and you just won't have the time. So if we look here for Grimm, we did unlock another chapter for another character. This is actually optional. However, I would consider all of these to be pretty essential. So definitely make sure that you take these on. If you notice, the difficulty is like a huge jump here. This goes all the way up to 8 now, all of a sudden. So we are not in the position to be taking these on. As far as Avalon's concerned, we've unlocked a new thing called For the Reaper. That's also a very difficult chapter line, so we're not going to be doing that one yet. And for Sanctuarium, we also unlocked another one called The Curse of Narcissism, which is the story of Calixto. That's also too difficult for us to do. So basically just the idea is have these in your mind, and you'll come back to them later. However, I do kind of want to do Behemoth. You know what? I'm going to do Behemoth now, just as a bonus for this thing, because the Behemoth is something that I used throughout all of my playthrough in the Japanese version, and I think it's very useful. So I want to show you guys how this works. So the Behemoth here, this is not essential to story, but if you're interested, stick around and watch. It's going to be fun. So what I want to get is the, I don't know the English word. So maybe this is the Festerbloom leaf. That might be the one that I'm looking for. Possibly. Not sure. I'm going to change my faction over to Sanctuarium because I want higher defense. That, and I also prefer saving monsters over killing them for now. As far as my allies, these are my two NPCs. I'm going to take Sympatha, of course. She's going to be a great source of healing me. She uses Divine Arm 5. I can actually see what spells she has, which is really nice. It says give offering. You can go in here and you can actually gift her a bunch of extra offerings you have, and it will help increase her affinity. It goes all the way up to S, but there's no way I can get anywhere close to that using with what I have now. So for now, just ignore it. I think C is standard. But once I start getting up to silver spells, I want her to be going up to silver spells as well. And then for my second one, who do I want? So if I take someone, let's say Carnatux, who is from Avalon, I'm going to lose trust with him. Like, our affinity is going to go down as I kill monsters. Or save them, because he wants to kill them because he's from Avalon. So I think I will take Similia, because she doesn't care either way.